Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Conscious Leader Podcast. Today, we have a new featured leader. Her name is Rhonda Johnson. Welcome, Rhonda.
Thank you.
And as you guys are joining us today, I'm your host, Delisa Abraham from Faith and Sparkles World, leadership coach, mentor, speaker. So, Rhonda, please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you do, who you serve.
All right, my name is Rhonda Johnson, also known as Rhonda J. Um, my company is Limitless Empowerment with Rhonda J. And my servant heart is here for those who are people pleasers, perfectionists, and super women like me. I am here to let you know through my own journey that I have found we don't have to people please. So we don't have to make sure everybody else is good before we're good. We do not have to be perfectionists. We don't have to do everything right out the gate. Um, and we definitely don't have to be super women. We don't have to do it all. And we don't have to do all the things just to be a woman, just to have a good life, and just to be enough. That we can have the best life, that we can live the best life, we can be our best for all of our family, friends, by setting boundaries, by protecting our energy, by taking care of ourselves, by being more aware of how we feel while we're doing these things, and just be again like our authentic selves. We don't have to do those things. So that's my passion, that's my mission, to show women that we do not have to, we can take care of ourselves and take care of everything else.
Of course, and we need to take care of ourselves. Well, that's awesome. We met last year, so and have been on this journey with you because even though we may think, oh, I have all my self care done and I'm taking care of myself, and I am not a people pleaser. And I want you to expand a bit on this. There are things that you share not just in your videos or your posts, but even in your webinars, in your training guides and teaching guides, that you really get into that psychological trauma piece
Yes.
that that makes you be like, hey, I may
Right.
not really be people pleasing today, but I can be sometimes coerced into people pleasing.
Oh, definitely.
And if you don't recognize it, it's challenging. So, can you share a bit more about that?
Yeah, definitely. So I have a background in mental health. And I just love it. And one of the reasons I love it is because it's so powerful to understand what's going on in the background. And I'm now moving my message to what I call like the background messages that we got in childhood, especially as women of color. And then women in business, women who are successful in business, successful in our careers. What is the messaging that we got that makes us people pleasers, that makes us perfectionists, that makes us feel like we have to be super women? It doesn't just, I say it like this: you and I didn't grow up together.
No.
And me and your viewers and listeners didn't grow up together. And yet I know this message resonates with them, which means we all got it from somewhere and for some reason. And especially um, communities of color. This is how we got our voice. This is how we got our power, our equity. And it has served us. I'll say that it has served us. But as I get older and I understand that people pleasing and perfectionism and being a superwoman come with this health component, this mental health component, this spiritual component. Now I start looking at that more than the result. So you can have successful entrepreneurs, successful leaders, that's great. But to me, we don't want to neglect the mental health. We don't want to neglect the physical health, and we don't want to neglect the spiritual health. And that's where I'm going to. And I know that, I laugh because sometimes like, oh, hey, my family be like, oh, that's psychobabble. I try not to psychobabble too much, but it's awesome. But
Well, it's not psychobabble at all.
you're right.
It's not.
Right.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. But however you get it, I want you to get it. Right. So I'm saying that like, people pleasing, perfectionism, being a superwoman. is not a diagnosable mental disorder. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that it's a way that as we get older, it keeps us bound and trapped. And what either I don't want for you, for myself, for your listeners, for anybody in the world, any woman, especially women of color, to get 50 years old, you have the career, you have what you want, but inside you're empty, you're drained, you are tapped out. It's very important to me that you feel fulfilled in your life when, it's like, I call it like the dark of the night, in the middle of the night. You're not up here worrying about, oh, am I good enough for this? Or do like I do, like, did I say the right thing? Did I da? That's what I'm trying to relieve in people's lives.
So
That's what
essentially, what I'm hearing from
yes,
all of what you said, it's you're empowering women, especially women 30 plus, because
yes,
this is your ideal audience, that's your target audience,
yes,
to essentially learn how to lead their lives
yes,
instead of following what is expected or what society or their family or anyone has said. This is how you need to be as a woman. These are the steps you have to take. This
yes,
is, you need to be seen, not heard. Oh, but by the way, don't let anybody run over you.
right,
Right? Like
right, right. Yeah, and,
how
and
can you
that's
be seen, not heard, but don't let anyone take advantage of you? That
right.
how do you do
And
that? Um,
yeah, yeah,
so you're for me, you're empowering women to essentially lead their lives. I want
yes,
to ask you. I mean, I know because I'm part of your groups. I follow you along. I'm participating in your stuff. What does that journey look like
yeah, yeah,
as you encounter women who may be like most of them successful? They're entrepreneurs. They have work. They have a life. They have a family, and
yeah,
then you can see, because I mean you've been doing this for a few years now, you have
yes.
experience and credentials. How do you start that journey of leadership, of empowered leadership in self with
Great
them?
question. Great question. So where I start is self-awareness. Um, and that's kind of one of those things like, ew. But listen, it's like getting to know yourself in a way that you're looking for things to help yourself. One good way to do it, I tell everybody, journaling. Journaling. Um, anything, anything. Well, it's twofold for me. So I journal and then I do a gratitude journal, right? So I just, what am I grateful for? Then so I have a gratitude list. That's where I start. Then I have a list where why am I grateful? Right. So that helped me then look at things that I will put in there that I'm not so grateful for, but it makes me look at it differently. Why am I not grateful for that? And I mean, it's just a question. It's not a judgment.
Mhm,
Um, what about that is saying something to me? Um, what was I people pleasing in that moment? Was I putting myself second, third, 10th? Why did I do that? And so as you're journaling, you begin to become more aware of your patterns. That's all I ask for people to do. When you become more aware of your patterns, like for example, when you talk to this person in your family, or this person at your job, or this person, this client, you make yourself small. I would invite you to ask yourself why, right?
mhm,
Why when if I need to say something to this person, why there's a thought of like, nah, I can't say that or this and that, just why? So that begins the process. And as we begin to dig, we begin to see things that, okay, it's like, oh, okay, I see why I do that now. It may be something you did when you were a child. It may be something that's how you learn to navigate life. And now that you are well deep into your 30s and well deep into your 40s and beyond, you're like, oh, wait, I can learn to advocate for myself. And that's what's key to me, especially like with leadership. To me, leaders are advocates. They can advocate for themselves and others. I mean, that's why others look to you as a leader. It's like, oh, okay, I know that you can take this and I know that what I'm saying is safe with you and you're going to take care of it and handle it. So, all that to say, the first step is self awareness. And the one way to do it is journaling and gratitude journaling and just regular journaling. Whatever it feels like in your head, get it out on paper,
Yeah.
use your voice, whatever it takes to get it out of your head so you can see it.
Well, and that's great. We journaling is such a really nice way because it also gives you space for reflection. And for those that are listening or tuning in, there are also various ways. She's just showing one way. Rhonda is just sharing, one way due to time, but there are other ways as well to learn about self reflection. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, my question to you is, let's say an executive comes to you, an entrepreneur, even someone in middle management, doesn't have to even be an executive, or an entrepreneur who has been working for years. They've been an entrepreneur for years. They're successful, and they come to you and they say, "Well, Rhonda, you know what? I'm self aware. I'm doing my journaling.
Hmm.
I've done my meditation. I I go to a place of worship. Um, I have a family. I'm good. I'm good." But I like what you're saying because, well, it's nice and it's touched upon. How do you go with, but they're interested, but they're like, I don't know, this seems like milk to me, just baby food that you're sharing,
Yeah,
right? And I'm sure you've come across that. um
definitely.
so how do you work with women who are in their 30s, but they may be a bit defensive?
Yeah, yeah. So
Mhm.
to me, it does happen because I mean, just how we are, we don't like to be told what to do. We don't like to open up to people that we feel are strangers. So I get it. And what I do is I assure everybody that, well, one, if everything was really good, you wouldn't come to me, which is okay. Okay,
Yeah.
because that means you're self-aware. Like you said, you've done the work. You have everything that looks like you should have it together, but you realize something is missing. And
Mhm.
so between us, we'll sit down and figure out what that is. Um, by doing the homework. So I'm one of those people. I like, again, journaling activities. If you're an artist, you can draw. I draw a little
Mhm.
bit too. Whatever it takes to kind of peel those layers away. Because at this point, if that's how you come to me, I have all this. So like, and I'm ready to do the big time work. So we'll have to unpack those layers. And the
Yeah.
way to do that, um, I think, especially with entrepreneurs and people who are successful, is to create a space of safety, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what those things are, those relationships. All the things that we get, they are around us to make us feel safe, to make us not feel the rejection that we have felt from others. Because, I have these things, they keep me safe. But once you create a level of connection, this is what I also think we miss as well. When you create that level of connection, where it says, I got you. We can talk about those things. Then we create the trust. And it's just a matter of letting her talk through what's going on till we get to the real meat of it. Is it self-esteem? Is it boundary issues? Is it, perfectionism weighing you down? So that's what I do. I work to create this environment through homework, through journaling, through
Mhm.
just talking, that we can then get to why you're here. And then we set out to it, what goals you want to achieve. You want to increase self-esteem, you want better sleep. What is it that you want? And then after doing that work, we can then do the deeper dives to help you achieve your goals.
Well, this takes a long time
Yes,
because it doesn't happen overnight.
it
And
does not.
what you mentioned there is, one, you have to build the connection, and
Yeah,
having the connection leads to the trust. And then from the trust, now you're going into the self awareness phase.
that's
And
right.
then from the self awareness phase, now you're rewiring synapses, right?
Yeah,
You're rewiring the mind.
yep,
And these things take a long
they
time.
do.
Uh,
They do.
Many people don't recognize that when you're getting into these deep internal work. Some people actually even call it soft skills, right?
Mhm.
Because we still need to. These things are taught in business. A lot of corporations, they hire people such as yourself
Yeah.
to come in and share about, how to use your voice authentically.
Yes.
Um, my question and my thoughts to you is, with this process that you have,
Mhm.
how long would someone on average take to go through with you, go through like one of your programs, for example?
Sure. Um, right now I'm looking at 6 to 12 weeks. Um, and then we do like a reflective moment after that. So it's like, if you want to proceed forward, if you kind of want to move to a maintenance phase, we can do that. It depends on, honestly, real talk, it depends on your ability to commit, right? So that's includes not missing sessions. It also includes doing the work. It also includes showing up in vulnerability in the sessions. Um, and that's the determining factor. Again, because as leaders, as business women, I know I'm a card carrying, I'm both a president and a client, like back in the day.
Yeah.
I, um, I know what I call that hard shell. I understand it. You have to have it to be successful. But
Yeah.
when we start to do the deeper work so that you can live a more fulfilled life and have more self-esteem, you've got to be, I'm hammering it. You got to hammer it with me, you
Yeah.
know? So it's all about you showing up, your commitment to yourself. And that's why we start with building that safe space. Because when we build a safe space, that's when you can say, okay, I'm cool with this and this, or maybe we need to take a bit more time to build that safe space. It is a process because again, you didn't get here overnight. You're not going to get to the next space overnight either.
That's right. 100%. And I like that you shared a, a, a bit about that, right? And people might say, oh, 6 to 12 weeks. Well, it is a process and everyone journeys differently and it depends on where you are. And, people also need to recognize when you do go to maybe a therapist or a psychologist who, they're qualified, they take longer
Yes,
because they recognize there are specific traumas that you are dealing with that
right.
needs to be unpacked and healed. Versus
Yes.
like with coaching, of course, you're not a psychologist, you're not dealing with the deep seated trauma, but
Sure. Yes.
the things that you can work on yourself, you're supporting their growth. And so just
Yeah.
want to make that clear for others.
Thank you for saying.
Um,
Yes.
I love what you said. Not you you're a customer, you're a client, but you also hold a card or something like that. I'm a card holder and a client.
Sign
I
of the
love that
president. Yeah.
thing. As a card holder and a client, we didn't even share a bit about this, but I really want people to understand who you are and where you not only where you're coming from with this, but a more of a deeper meaning of your why you are supporting others. And really, you know, your credentials, your background in this, because it is important for others to recognize why you're doing what you're doing and why you're so good at what you do.
Thank you. Um, Thank you for that. So I'm so glad you made that distinction about like diagnosing versus what I do. Thank you for that. I do not diagnose. So if you have something going on that you're aware of, um, coaching may be okay, maybe not okay with you, depending upon where you are in your journey. For example, if you've been diagnosed with anxiety and depression, as we do the work, that may you know bring some things up. Um, and again, the safe space is there for you to talk about those things if you want to. But again, you use your own best judgment. If that happens and you are seeing a therapist, you may want to share that with them as well. Because I don't do any diagnosing and I don't do any
Yeah.
progression of any type of conditioning. Um, so for myself, I so in my mental health journey, I worked with I think the experience that had the most um, an impression on me about, oh, maybe I want to coach. was I actually worked with women in underserved communities.
Mm,
And a lot of them were wanting, you know, I was the mental health person. I mean, I worked under somebody who was in supervision, but I realized that a lot of them just needed someone to talk to. A lot of them needed somebody to just kind of like, literally, am I okay? Like, what I'm feeling, is that okay? And it's like, yes. And once people felt safe enough to, okay, okay, oh, okay, that's okay to feel that way. Yes, it is, because we're human, you know, they begin to open up. And so um, I begin to realize, one, that's not something everybody can do for everybody. And they were mothers, like they were about to give birth. So when they were in a very vulnerable place, and they were little, uh, uh, somewhat easier to, you know, to talk to like
working.
that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah. So, but I'm like, when it comes to women who have, I mean, that's why we are how we are. Us as leaders and business leaders and entrepreneurs, we had to be tough, you know. And I mean, and so the ladies that I work with, the mothers, they have to be tough too. But it's like, we can build that trust. And my thing is, I want to pay forward what was done for me when I was going through a difficult time in my life. Somebody came to me and said, "You're safe here. You don't have to people please here. You don't have to be a perfectionist. You don't have to play superwoman with me, because I know, like, they could see
Mhm.
through me." And after I got over the shock and awe of somebody seeing vulnerable me, I kind of liked her. I was like, okay. And that's what I want to get to other women as well. You're going to love this woman under all that hardness. You're going to love this woman who's authentic. And you're going to love this woman who's going to live her best life and say no and set and hold boundaries. You're going to love her. And I want
Oh,
you
and
to
I
do
love it. Yeah, it's and you didn't touch on. I love that you talked about it. You're sharing an example of your experience here because you're coming from a place not only, as you said, a card holder in what you share with women, right? In overcoming people pleasing and really becoming
yes.
empowered women. Um, but you had training as well.
Mm,
You were mentored, you were coached, and now you're actually going through to get your certification as a therapist.
yes.
So you are coming and serving with the academic credentials and the experience of serving others and helping them, along with your own experience.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
live in a time where all three is really needed.
Yes. It
All three
is.
is needed
It
because
is.
people want to work with people who have been there, who
Yeah.
has walked the walk. If I come to you, Rhonda, and I'm not sure, but you're saying to me, okay, you're gonna mentor me or coach me. Hey, what's your experience?
Yeah.
And have you served others? And so you paid your dues, so to speak, right? You paid your dues. Um, and I commend you for that. And I thank you so very much.
Yeah.
My question to you, because we're going to be wrapping up now. If you have one message, one thing to say to women out there, what would it be?
You are enough. Whatever it is, whatever you got going on, no matter how small it's making you feel, you are enough. In this moment, you are enough.
That's wonderful. It's simple, but it's so true. We are enough.
Yes.
Sometimes we just need to hear that.
Yes.
Um, and please share with us how we can get in contact with you and reach out with to you.
Okay. Yes, you can. So there are a couple of ways. Um, so the first way is you can go on my website. It's a lot. www.limitlessrhondaj.net, and take the 3PQ, that's for people pleasing and perfectionist quiz, just to see where you fall on that scale. You know, because some people aren't people pleasers, but they're perfectionists, right? And so you'll kind of know your numbers, if you will. So go on the website, and it's like the first thing you will see, click on it, take that quiz, and you will end up on my mail list, my emailing list, and I'll keep you informed on all the haps I got going on and webinars and things like that. You can also join my group, Limitless Empowerment with Rhonda J on Facebook. I guess you just type in Limitless Empowerment with Rhonda J and ask to join the group, because that's where I am. That's where we post. That's where we commune. That's where we grow together. We support each other. It's just a safe, supportive environment. I shout out to you, Delisa. Shout out because I have the message, but y'all carried it forward, and I love it. I love that people feel safe enough to open up and share in the group. So yes, those are the two ways that you can get in touch with me and connect with me. And then if you're like, you know what, I think I'd like to try her coaching out, DM me from the group and just let me know you're interested in coaching. We'll set up a complimentary call, complimentary Zoom, and we'll talk. We'll just talk.
Awesome. I love it. And don't forget, guys, uh, Rhonda's information is going to be in the comments. So if this is going out on YouTube, her information's in the comments. You'll get all the links. Click it. You just need to click one link and you'll get her.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so very much, Rhonda, for coming on, for sharing your expertise with us.
Yes.
And honestly, for bringing insight and awareness into one, how we can recognize if we're perfectionists or people pleasers, and really sharing that tip about journaling and gratitude, so we can start becoming aware of it. Don't forget, if you want to, you know, become the empowered leader and release perfectionism, release people pleasing, get in contact with Rhonda today. We thank you for being here. Join me next week for another episode.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.